Hi everyone. I wish you all to another year of celebration of International Women's Day. As you all may be aware, International Women's Day began to be celebrated in the early 20th century when a group of women workers came together to fight for their rights, which included right for better working conditions, more wages, reduced working hours, right to vote, and so on. Now, more than a century has passed by, but still the conditions of women in India are not that satisfactory. Among the multiple issues that women face, one is economic empowerment. Not all the women in the country who are in the productive age group are participating in the labor market. If you go by the figures, only 23% of the female population is engaged in the labor market. That is, they are employed. This figure is very low when compared to other developing countries where it ranges between 50 to 60%. Now, why is this so? Now, India was traditionally a farming economy, wherein, when along with the farming occupation, women of the household also participated along with the menfolk. But as years went by, when farming occupations dwindled and men started migrating to the cities for jobs in the manufacturing and services sector, women stayed behind because their educational qualifications did not make them eligible for the jobs in the sector. Women, if you have to go by their educational qualification, most of them are either illiterate or below secondary level of schooling. So this made the women to withdraw from farming occupations and be confined to the domestic duties, which involved taking care of the household work as well as elderly and children. So if you see, almost a major proportion of the women in the working age group are today engaged in domestic duties rather than being in the labor market. In 2019, the government had conducted a time use survey, that is, which measures the time spent by male as well as females in a span of 24 hours just preceding the day of survey. And the activities right from the morning till the night were captured. So if you in this 24 hours, if you exclude the 12 hours that goes into sleeping and personal care and eating food and other things, the remaining productive time of 12 hours, where women spend almost 7 hours in domestic duties, whereas men spend only 2.8 hours. And this was irrespective of whether the women being educated or employed or illiterate. Now, for an illiterate woman, if she was spending 7 hours in domestic duties, an employed woman was spending almost 5.6 hours. Here, the burden of work is more on the employed women, because apart from her employed hours that she spent in employment, she has to put in additional hours for domestic duties. So the total burden of work on the employed women is more than those who are in the household work. And a woman engaged in household work spends almost 7.6 hours in a day in domestic duties. So the government is aware of this scenario and has been trying to bring out schemes to encourage more women to come into the labor market and participate in the economic growth process. So towards this end, there are some schemes which encourage rural entrepreneurship, because studies have indicated that when women are asked to whether they are interested in going for a job, most of them have replied in the affirmative, but with the condition that if the job is available within the confines of their house or within the household premises, so that they don't have to move away from the house for the job. So that's why the rural entrepreneurship schemes are being encouraged in a big way to bring in more women into self-employment. So some of the schemes that are in place are Ajivika, otherwise called the National Rural Livelihood Mission, the Stand Up India scheme for women, the Mudra loan scheme, again women, all these schemes aim at giving concessional credit to women so that they can set up their own enterprises. Apart from this, there are also schemes to provide skilling to women, which includes first-time skilling as well as upskilling. Now, first-time skilling is mainly done by the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, wherein short-term skill training is provided in various trades to encourage women to take up employment in manufacturing as well as services sector. In upskilling, where we look at where the women have already some level of skill, it is further upgraded to make them suitable for the new jobs that are coming up in the job market. Plus, you also have the industrial training institutes, which are having multitude of courses today to cater to women's needs, as well as you have women-centric ITIs, which devote entirely to women for providing them long-term vocational training. Despite this, the participation of women in the labor market is not that very encouraging. For this, we need some reforms on the social side also. We need to set up more childcare centers even in rural areas so that women can leave the children in the safe confines of the childcare centers and go for jobs, as well as some reform need to come within the household where men also equally participate in the domestic duties so that more number of women can also enter the labor market. Now, we have studies which are showing that if nearly half of the that is almost 50% of our population is women, and if these women also participate in the labor market, then the contribution of women to GDP would increase by 1.5 percentage points. So if the more number of women coming into the labor market or into employment will only take the country forward in the economic growth process. So with these few words, I once again wish you all a happy Women's Day and thank you.